Okay, welcome everyone. This is John Gabriel with the Gabriel Method and the Gabriel Method Detox program. And this is day 4 and webinar 4 and entitled Detoxifying Your Kitchen. And when we say detoxifying your kitchen, we mean in terms of specific foods, foods that are toxic, and trying to get more healthy foods into your kitchen. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And as you know, I'm joined with my good friend and colleague, Nadia Harper, a detoxification expert and Gabriel Method coach. And Nadia, are you there?
Hi, John. I am here. How are you doing today?
Excellent. How are you?
Really good, thanks.
Okay, so this is day 4 for people. Many people are just starting day 4, and that means they've been through 3 days of a cleanse. We're getting a lot of very mixed feedback. Some people absolutely loving it, not hungry, energy, feeling amazing. Other people struggling, having good days and bad days. Mostly people feeling very, very supported. And I would like to say, especially because of the wisdom and expertise and support you're providing. So I really appreciate you being on these webinars with us.
Oh, thank you so much, John.
Excellent. So before we get into the body of the webinar, I would like to bring Dan in because I know we have a lot of questions from the last 24 hours that need to be addressed. So we'll bring Dan in and get started.
Hi, John. Hi, Nadia.
Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi. Good, thanks.
Great.
Okay, Jan has several questions, so I'll start with the first one. First of all, a huge thank you to John and Nadia. My question is, in one juice I have added fennel, which has quite a sweet taste. Should I regard this as a celery substitute or closer to beets and carrots? Also, at the end of day 3, I was very hungry, so I had some broth, but later wondered whether metabolically a flaxseed shake or coconut tea might have been a better choice to stabilize my blood sugar. My hunger was accompanied by a major sugar craving, which I managed to resist, but only just, thanks to the visualizations.
Okay. All right. Let's first talk about the fennel. I don't have any problem with fennel from a blood sugar perspective. Do you, Nadia?
No, not at all. And we use fennel in our juices. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really nice taste.
The reason why you may be feeling that fennel is sweet is because your taste buds are changing, which is very common during a cleanse. So you might have, if you had had that fennel juice a week ago, you might have thought it was very sour, but because your taste buds are changing now, you're becoming very sensitive. Don't you think, Nadia?
Yeah, that definitely happens. Your taste buds for sure will become more sensitive to the tastes of whole foods, which is a nice thing. That's what we're looking for.
Exactly. And in terms of hunger, what I would say about that is that you're figuring your own body rhythms out now. So you could have next time you could have tea plus a chia shake. You could add oil to the broth. There's any number of combinations of things that you can do. Basically, we're not restricting you in any way in terms of the types of foods that we're recommending. So you really can just make it your own. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, I agree. And she spoke, her own wisdom came out as she was asking the question. So, she provided answers for herself, the options that she mentioned that, might have been good for her. That's what she can do next time.
Good point. Good point. Okay, Dan.
She also says, thanks, Nadia, for the oil pulling tip. I have been using coconut oil, but didn't like the texture in my mouth while waiting for it to melt. So she's tried sesame oil and found that a much nicer experience.
Okay.
Yes, sesame oil is fine. Just make sure that it's a good quality sesame oil. And for the coconut oil, what you can do with that is you can leave that warm it up before you put it in your mouth. So at about a warm room temperature, about 72, 75 degrees, coconut oil will turn to a liquid state. And then you can put it in your mouth rather than having it melt in your mouth.
I would just want to say, though, that do not heat up sesame oil because sesame oil will get corrupted at higher temperatures, whereas coconut oil will not. Sesame oil is not a great oil to cook with. It's a good cold oil. You do want to keep it refrigerated, um, but the coconut oil you can heat up.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Okay.
She also says, I've also bought unscented Castile soap, so I'm looking forward to playing around with your soap recipes in the next few days. I got the impression that you dilute the Castile soap with water when you add the essential oil. Is this correct?
Yes, that's what we do. So when we make the hand soap, I diluted about 1 part Castile soap to 5 parts water and then add some essential oils. When I make the dish soap, I don't actually add any essential oils. I just use the diluted Castile soap.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Susan has asked, is cell food something that I would be okay to add to water during the cleanse or pre-cleanse?
Say that
Not sure
again.
what's it.
Cell
Cell
food.
food, yes,
Okay,
as
yeah.
in
So,
CELL.
yeah, so cell food is oxygen foods that is very high in oxygen that's made from just micronutrients. Uh, I don't see a problem with it at all. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, actually, is that if that's is that a brand name? I'm not familiar with it. But
Uh,
if you think it's fine, I'm sure it would be fine.
yeah, no, I don't have a problem with that. Okay.
Okay. Shandon has asked, wondering about organic Greek yogurt for after the detox on day 2 or 3, and also what you think of yogurt. Also, I take an omega supplement and wondering if 2 tablespoons of chia seeds are enough. Just had the chia shake with some coconut water and it is fabulous. Didn't need to drink
Okay.
as many juices today. I'm listening to my body.
Okay, Nadia.
Yeah, great that you're listening to your body. In terms of yogurt, I think that dairy products as a whole, they create mucus production in your body, which can be an issue. Of all the foods within the dairy product category, yogurt is a better one because it is a cultured food. What I would suggest is try using goat yogurt rather than cow yogurt, and even coconut yogurt is a better option.
Yeah. I agree with that. You can also create yogurts out of you can also ferment nuts and that'll create also a nice kind of yogurt taste to it. So more and more what I'm doing is having fermented yogurt type things that are not dairy. Coconut yogurt's a really good one. I'll have a fermented cashew that sort of has like a cashew a yogurt type of feel to it. It's just the dairy is very inflammatory. But I agree, if you're going to have dairy, sheep and goat is much better. Raw, if you can get raw dairy, that's the best, and it doesn't have the same inflammatory issues. Do you agree, Nadia?
Definitely. Yep.
Okay, good. And what was the
And this
second
is,
part of the question?
Yeah,
she
right.
was just, um, uh, I just had
The
some chia
chia
shake with
seeds.
coconut water,
Oh yeah.
and also I take an omega supplement and wondering if 2 tablespoons of chia seeds are enough.
Okay, so about the omega supplements, there's different types of omega-3s. Some come from fish oils and some come that are plant-based. I like to do both. So if you're taking an omega-3 supplement that's a fish oil type of supplement, then I would continue to take that, but also do a chia shake as well. I have a lot of chia seeds in my diet in various ways, and I also try to get some sort of fish oils as a supplement. What do you think, Nadia?
Sounds good.
Okay, good.
Jane says, I've increased the juices to 4 liters a day as I've been craving more and more of them. I also had an immediate relief from detox symptoms by having a colonic, and my tongue scraper is needed every hour. Arthritis pain is greatly improved, and my glucose levels are reading as normal for the first time in years, all in a
Excellent.
few days. Thank you for your guidance.
Okay, well, it's no problem with the juices. You can have as much as you want whenever you want. As Nadia said, a colonics great. And what about the tongue scraper? That's not something I've ever done before, Nadia.
Oh, they're fabulous.
Yeah.
It's a very simple tool, and when I do a cleanse, I'm like Jane. I'm scraping my tongue a lot throughout the day. So what happens is, I'm sure everyone has had the experience of when you wake up in the morning, your tongue has a bit of a coating on it, especially
Yeah.
if you've, indulged the night before, your tongue can feel even quite hairy in the morning. And that's your body pushing through your tongue. As it does, it's detoxing overnight. So a tongue scraper is a stainless steel, very simple tool that you just scrape over the surface of your tongue, and it takes that white, it can be a very thick sort of substance. It takes it right off, and then you don't have to bother about re-ingesting it. It just comes rid of your body. If you don't have a tongue scraper, you can use the back of a spoon, just a normal stainless, that to scrape your tongue, or even your toothbrush and brush your tongue.
Okay, and what's the real benefit of that? That's you're getting a lot of toxins out, or why do you become addicted to that? Does it feel really good? You feel fresher afterwards?
It does feel really good. The tongue, like every other part of your body, is reflexes to the rest of your body. So on the just like on the palm of your hand, you have reflexology points that relate to the rest of your body. That's the same on your tongue. So when you
Okay,
tongue scrape, it's sort of like a little massage that can
okay,
reflects to the rest of your body. And then,
That's very
like I
interesting.
mentioned, you're getting all of that kind of mucusy white coating stuff off, which is all stuff your body is trying to push out of your system. So you're just helping your body to then get it out of your body instead of having to re-ingest it when you drink something.
That's great. Okay. All right. Listen, what I want to do is actually get into the body of the webinar right now, and we'll come back to Den in just a little while. She's got lots of questions, and we'll try to cover all of them. So we got a lot of material to cover today, and some really interesting stuff. So let's get into the webinar. Den, thanks very much. Okay. So we've gone through week one, our pre-cleanse, and week two, we're on day 4, which is detoxify your kitchen. And basically what we're talking about, not in terms of chemicals as much, but we're talking about the chemicals in our food. Is that right,
Right.
Nadia?
Yeah.
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 So
There's a lot of little things we can look at.
let's start with the big offenders, bad oils.
Right. So these are the oils that are sold a lot in the grocery store. There's a lot of different types, and you'll see many of them, and they're not very expensive, which is why a lot of people, buy them and use them. But we need you to know that they're not very good quality, they're not healthy, and they really don't do anything for your health as you move forward. So they're the
Yeah,
ones that you'll see in the store. They're like I said, they're cheap, they're yellow, they're in a clear bottle. Oftentimes they're in a soft plastic bottle.
exactly. And let's talk about it. Corn oil, canola oil, soy oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. So
Right.
what's
All of
bad
those
about
are
these?
chemicals.
Right. So they're highly
So
processed.
right, they're highly, highly processed. They don't have any nutritional value to them anymore. And
Right.
oils can go rancid. They can go bad if they can get corrupted if they're not well treated and processed in a proper way, which these
Right.
ones are not. So, they're
Right.
all rancid oils.
Right. And they're not stable, but the most important point on this slide, I think, is that they're inflammatory. See, all of
Right.
these oils are high in omega-6s, and because we're taking in too much omega-6 relative to the omega-3, and this is why I always harp on omega-3s as much as possible, we're supposed to be taking in a ratio of 1 omega-3 to 1 omega-6 in our diet, and we're not. We're taking in a ratio of maybe 50 to 100 omega-6s for every omega-1. That for every omega-3, that causes inflammation in your body, and those inflammatory hormones cause you to gain weight. Basically, they activate your fat programs. They're the same inflammatory hormones that get elevated if you were starving for 3 months at a time or perpetually cold and living outdoors. They basically activate your fat programs for survival reasons. They trick your body into activating this sort of survival response. So that's a huge problem, and they're really in everything, aren't they, Nadia?
Yeah, they are all processed food, packaged foods. When you go to lots of restaurants or fast food places, they're using these oils. They're
Yeah,
very widespread.
yeah. Okay. And also they lead to digestive problems. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, like we're suggesting, they're just not good in the body, so they're leading to all sorts of problems. Digestion is uh, it's a big process that happens in your body, and it's happening all the time. So if you're constantly having these kinds of oils, you're constantly creating an environment in your digestive system that isn't
Right.
helping it to work as efficiently as it could.
Right. Okay. And so also this part I love. These oils, the reason why they're in everything is they're just cheap industrial oils. Is that right?
Right, and you find this with a lot of things on the market nowadays, things that they're selling very, very widespread and for very cheap. If you look back to where they came from, they were the waste products from an industry. And like these oils, they were a waste product from the painting industry. And
Yeah.
they're things that are good. They might be very good for treating wood and for oil paints, but they're not good for ingesting.
No. Okay. So let's talk about some healthy oils then.
Sure. So the healthy oils that you want to look for are on the list there. You can see grass-fed butter. So that's butter coming from grass-fed animals. Grass-fed
Mhm.
ghee, coconut oil, MCT oil, olive oil, macadamia nut oil. These are all really, really nice. They're high in omega-3s and they're very healthy in your body.
Right. So when we say, just to be clear again, I know you said grass-fed butter means that the cow's been fed grass, not hormones and pesticides and or hormones and grains and things like that. It's just been a cow that's just been grazing, and the butter from that cow. Now let's talk about what ghee is, because most people aren't familiar with that.
So ghee is a traditional food from India. It is clarified butter. You were speaking earlier in the webinar about how it's made. Did you want to? You're probably more
Yes.
familiar with the process than I am.
So what it is they basically extract the milk fat, and it's just the oil is what it is.
Right. Okay.
So they go through a mild extraction process in heating it, which then takes out all the milk fat, which is really what causes the problems in butter anyways, the milk fat. And what you're left with is just oil, and that oil it has a lot of healing properties and is tastes great, and you can cook with it because it doesn't get destroyed at high temperatures. So it's really great that way.
Right. And it, like I mentioned, it's traditional food. So, when you look back in time to what's been done traditionally, a lot of times you'll find some wisdom there.
Exactly. And then coconut oil also we've been talking a lot about this MCT oil we all know. Now with heating oil, let's just talk about which ones are the best ones to heat because the thing to understand about oils that are healthy and unrefined is that some are good for cooking because they don't get destroyed at high temperatures and some you can only have cold. So let's talk about what are the best cooking oils.
Okay, so the one that I love to use the most is coconut oil. It has a very high heat point and it also has a really nice flavor that adds a nice flavor to the food you're cooking. But other great
Right.
ones too are the grass-fed butter and the grass-fed ghee.
Yeah, I actually prefer the ghee only because I find that coconut oil doesn't have the same nonstick quality or as well as butter or ghee. Do you find that at all?
Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to experiment
Yeah.
with that and see if I
Yeah,
find that
because
too.
I remember I was making a recipe recently for the member site, which was basically a crepe, wheat-free, dairy-free crepe made out of chia bran, and or no, it was out of coconut flour, and so it was really thin, and I couldn't get the thing to flip when I had done it
Right.
so many times before, and then I realized it was with coconut oil. Once I used butter again, the thing flipped really easy.
Oh, that's very interesting. And a side point is that you're not wanting to use nonstick pans.
What's that? Yeah, yeah, I
Those
don't use
those
nonstick
have
pans. Yeah, yeah,
right.
that's a
So
great
so
point.
it's good
Yeah.
to right. So good to have something that helps you with that process of it not sticking.
Exactly. And so, we have olive oil on here. Uh, my only concern with olive oil is I think we have too much of it relative as a salad dressing, and it's too high in omega-6s compared to olive oils like that we have on the bottom of the screen, like flaxseed oil, chia seed oil, and even macadamia oil. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, these ones that are listed on the bottom there, those are really, really nice. Those cold pressed flaxseed, chia seed, those oils are really nice. We've also mentioned hemp seed oil. Olive
Yeah,
oil is a very, very common, it's a very widespread oil that's used, and it's really nice to get variety in your diet. So
yeah.
try and use those other ones so you can have some variety and you are getting the more variety you have in your diet with healthy foods, the more what nutrients you'll be getting the full
That's
range.
true. Yeah. So what I usually do as a salad dressing, what we sometimes do is make the oil component half olive oil, half flaxseed or chia seed oil, and then maybe put some balsamic vinegar and a couple other seasonings and herbs and things like that, and it comes out really, really nice.
Yeah, that does sound nice.
Yeah. Okay, good. So let's talk about processed foods because these are the foods that are, if we're not careful, these are the ones that end up in our kitchen, right? They're cheap, easy, available. They don't go bad. They can sit on your shelf for years. Let's talk about those.
Right, and good point you mentioned about the fact that they don't go bad. We
Yeah,
want our food to go bad. If
good
the food
point.
that you're buying in packages is has a very long shelf life, that's an indicator to let you know that it's not a really nutritious whole food. And the longer
Right.
the shelf life, the shorter your own life is something that a lot of people say.
The longer the shelf life, the
Um,
shorter your own life. Your food's going to outlive you, basically. That I
right,
love that. Yeah, no, I love that point. And the reason I can just say that the reason why we want our food to go bad, if you think about it, or we want food. Really, what we want is we don't want our food to go bad. We want food that does go bad. Is that the way food goes bad? Is it gets broken down by bacteria in the environment. Now, when we eat food, those same when we eat food, those bacteria are in our intestines. And so that's how we break down food, and then it gets assimilated into our body. Now, these processed foods, they don't break down in the environment. You can leave a cracker out from 1977 and it's still gonna be a cracker. They're very
Right.
slow to break down. And now when you eat them, that means that they're going to be impervious to the same bacteria that are in your intestines, and that's a problem. So for the exact same reason that the people are trying to make foods resistant to bacteria is the exact same reason why we don't want that to happen.
Right. And it's, these foods have, relatively speaking, have been around for a short period of time. We didn't always have the abundance of these kinds of processed packaged foods available to us. They're
Right.
available now, they're very cheap, they're very convenient, and people fall into trying to use them because of that, because they're cheap and they're convenient. But in the long run, they're really not. So many problems to your health, and being sick and not feeling well isn't convenient in the long run.
No, it's not. It takes away from every second of your life. And of course, they all cause weight gain too, because they get broken down into sugar very, very quickly, and that sugar elevates your insulin levels. Insulin's the fat-making hormone. Eventually, your insulin levels just keep going up and up and up. So you're in perpetual fat storage mode, and they become addictive. They're inflammatory. And the inflammatory hormones activate your fat programs, and they're nutritionally barren. So you're always hungry and hungry for more and more of them because you're not getting the nutrients you need, and they're toxic.
Right.
So in
Right.
all these different ways, we're destroying ourselves simply because it's cheaper and more available, and the manufacturers and addictive, and the manufacturers spend a lot of money on marketing. And speaking of,
Right.
yeah, good.
Yeah,
And
I was just going
let's
to
talk.
say that
Good.
their addictive quality. One of the things that this cleanse will do, it will help you to break your addictions to some of these processed and packaged foods. So after this
My,
cleanse is over, it's a really good opportunity to start eating more and more whole foods, like the pre-cleanse diet that we were had you on the first week, and to not turn to these processed foods.
that's such a great point. My experience is that a cleanse is perfect for breaking any type of addictions. It just works really, really well that way. And speaking of addictions, let's talk about one of the most addictive ingredients in processed food, which is MSG.
Right. So MSG stands for monosodium glutamate, and this is an additive that is in, gosh, almost every single processed and packaged
Yeah,
food out there. It's
yeah,
if it's not listed as monosodium glutamate on the ingredient list, it can be listed as other things that are the same thing as MSG by a different name.
yeah. Like hydrolyzed vegetable protein, hydrolyzed yeast extract, flavor
Right.
enhancer 621 up to flavor enhancer 630, hydrolyzed anything, vegetable, anything that says hydrolyzed pretty much. There's a whole list of ways that they disguise MSG. But the important thing is that MSG is basically is a chemical that excites your brain. It excites a part of your brain that activates your fat programs. It causes you to gain weight. It's what's called a neurotoxin, and it makes you addicted to the food. It makes you want to eat more and more of it. But most importantly, it does activate your fat programs. And as a matter of fact, Nadia, I don't know if you know this, but when biochemical researchers, when they want to study obesity in mice, they have to first make them mouse fat. One of the ways that you make a mouse fat is you feed them high quantities of MSG. There's
Right. Isn't
actually
that crazy?
there's actually a term for it. It's called MSG obesity induced mice. And you can
Right.
look on the internet, it's all there, MSG obesity induced mice. Nobody is asking the question, does MSG make you fat? Everybody knows it. They're just using it as a technique to make mice fat so that they can study a fat mouse. It's
Right.
it's like
Right. And
it's
then and
that established that it's become a protocol for making a mouse fat.
right. And then it's in all the food that human beings are buying and eating.
Right. Pretty much, if you're eating anything that's flavored, any processed food that's got flavoring, then it's gonna have MSG. And most processed foods that are chips and crackers, they're all gonna have the wrong oil, hydrolyzed uh, or oils, processed vegetable oils also.
Right. And another point about all of this is I know, people like the taste of a lot of these foods, but as we move forward, there are ways to make really, really great tasting food. It's not that you have to give up tastes that you love. There's just ways
Yeah.
to make these things in healthy ways.
Yeah, and they're addictive, and that's why you like the taste. So if you were to taste any of these foods right after a detox, you wouldn't be attracted to them at all. If you tasted those Dorito corn chips right after detox, the second you touched that powdery artificial flavoring and the flavoring enhancers, you would pull it away from your tongue. It wouldn't taste good. But unfortunately, a day, 2 days later, you'd be right there again. And that's why Nadia says, and I just think it's brilliant, that this is an opportunity. Run with the opportunity as far as you can. Continue with as much as you can of the pre-cleanse diet. Go with it, work with it. We're not talking about limitations in terms of quantity. We're just talking about real food. Just make pretend for a month or two, if you can, that you're living on an island and there's no man-made food because the man-made food's there to sell you, to get you addicted, to get you to eat more, to get you to have more, and they don't care about the hormonal effects that are happening to you. It's not they don't make changes to food to mass marketing food for health benefits. They do it for convenience for their own sake and because to get you to buy it.
Right.
So definitely try as much as you can the pre-cleanse diet. And again, all the pre-cleanse diet is real food, as much as you want, whenever you want, real, not man-made food. And this one I love,
Right,
Nadia.
exactly.
This one I love, tossing the wheat. I love the
Yeah.
image of that too.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's a really important thing to be aware of because wheat is in a lot of things as well. So processed packaged foods, if you look at the ingredient list, there is wheat in almost everything.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
wheat-based products, they're also very inflammatory and they lead to cravings. So they're just not helpful to have them.
yeah. Most wheat products have gluten, and that's a big buzzword now. And what's wrong with gluten? What's wrong with gluten is a couple of things. It changes your brain chemistry, sometimes which causes stress and causes hunger. It elevates your insulin. Wheat in general elevates your insulin levels 3 times greater than a natural carbohydrate. So if you're eating like the same amount of carbohydrate of a salad or a fruit or something, you get X amount of an insulin response. Wheat calorie per calorie gives you 3 times the insulin response, which causes these elevated insulin levels and causes your body to just keep gaining and gaining weight. The other thing about gluten is that in your stomach and in your intestines, it affects the permeability of your intestines. So your intestines become more permeable, which means that food enters your bloodstream before it's fully digested. You get something called leaky gut syndrome, which means that food and particles are leaking into your bloodstream before it's ready to be digested. And so your bloodstream can't handle it because it's not in a fully digested form. So it's basically a toxin that then elevates your immune response and causes inflammation. To me, wheat is, if you were to pick and choose one thing to avoid for the rest of your life or to find an alternative to, it would be wheat. And I can tell you, I used to be super addicted to wheat. I used to have it every single day. I don't care how much I ate of anything else, I had to have wheat. And 10 years down the road, wheat to me is nothing more than cardboard. Do you find that also? Was there a time when that you used to really like wheat, Nadia?
Yeah, when I grew up with eating a lot of wheat products, wheat-based products and wheat products, bread kind of products, pasta products. And I didn't give them a second thought. I just ate them and
Right.
didn't think about them. And now I'm very similar to you, John. Now when I have them, they just taste like paste. They taste like glue, like cardboard in my mouth. And that's an image that I share with people a lot is that if you put a piece of white bread, that kind of white bread that's in that image there, if you put that in your mouth and you chew it, it turns to a very pasty glue-like substance in your mouth. Now
Yeah.
imagine that going through your whole digestive tract. It tends to gum up your tract,
Yeah. Well, like my daughter makes glue out of water and cornstarch, and
right?
cornstarch is basically wheat gluten, and that's what it is. It's glue. Yeah.
Right. The ingredients that are made that make bread, you can use those same ingredients to make glue.
To me, it's a little bit like when you say that when you were growing up, you just ate what you didn't question. It's like if there was a drug like cocaine and we didn't question it, we just were given it every day as kids or growing up. We never questioned it. After a while, you couldn't imagine going on not having it because you'd be addicted to it. But once you're
Right.
no longer addicted to it, and I can tell you this, I don't think there's anyone on the planet that's ever been more addicted to wheat than me, and probably I'm as little addicted to it as anyone on the planet at this time. So I can tell you I've been on both sides of this spectrum. It's a very intimidating thought to not eat wheat when you're addicted to it, but when you're not addicted, it's the easiest thing in the world. And this is an opportunity. You guys have done the work. You are breaking addictions. I say run with the ball. Don't go back. Don't just go back into it. So Nadia, we are getting tons and tons of questions. So I have to bring Den back in and see
Okay.
if we can answer as many questions as we can.
Hi.
Hi, Den.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, Joanne asks, after the cleanse, I know you've talked about bread, but she says, after the cleanse, if I do decide to have some bread, is it better to go for white or whole wheat? Whole wheat was supposed to be much better for you, but that does not appear to be the case. I now choose multigrain when available.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily the case. There's a lot of controversy about whether whole wheat. It used to be everyone said whole wheat was better because it had fiber and all that stuff. It turns out that it can be just as inflammatory and just as irritating and cause all the problems. So there's no real, unfortunately, there's no good wheat alternative unless it's sprouted wheat and refrigerated. That is, a lot of the breads that you see on the shelf that's the claim to be sprouted wheat are not really sprouted wheat, or maybe they start with a sprout and then it becomes very highly processed. But if it's truly sprouted, it's something that needs to be refrigerated or frozen. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, that's exactly the suggestion I was going to give. If you want something that feels like bread, these sprouted grain breads are really good. And the one that we buy, it's in the freezer section of the grocery store. So we buy it, we keep it in our freezer, and then we just take out pieces as we want to eat it. And those
Yeah.
sprouted grain breads, when you put them in your mouth and you chew them up, they feel different. They don't turn into this gluey, pasty sort of substance. They feel more like real food.
Yeah, but it's got to be either refrigerator or in the frozen section. Those are the ones that are good. Again, for the
Right.
same reason, comes back to the what we said before. We want our food to be able to go bad. So if somebody's
Right.
claiming they've got sprouted grain bread and it's just sitting on a shelf all day, that's it's not going to be good for you. But if it has to be refrigerated or frozen, then your body can tolerate it much better. So yeah. Okay, Dan.
Joanne also asks, I rarely eat fries, but I was wondering if sweet potato fries are a better option to regular French fries. I know they are deep fried, but I'm thinking perhaps one is still better than the other.
Yeah, it might be marginally, but the bigger issue is the oil that you're using. So if you're
Right.
making it yourself, that's really you want to use an oil that doesn't get corrupted at high temperatures, a cold pressed ghee or coconut oil or cold pressed coconut oil ghee. What do you think, Nadia?
Yep. Or even make them at home and bake them instead of deep frying them.
Yeah, probably a baked sweet potato is slightly better. Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Okay, then.
Right.
Um, uh, Teresa asks, do ingredient lists always say if there's omega-6 in them? I rarely ever see this when I read the
No,
labels.
no, you won't. They don't differentiate between what type of whether it's an omega-6 or omega-3. Very rarely. They'll either just say polyunsaturated, monosaturated, or saturated. And it doesn't matter. There's good saturated fats, there's good monosaturated fats, and there's good polyunsaturated fats. So omega-3s can either be mono or polyunsaturated, or omega-6s can be either mono or polyunsaturated. Omega-3s are mostly polyunsaturated, but just because it says polyunsaturated doesn't mean it's omega-3. So you have to know the oil. More important. So as a general rule, vegetable oils are problematic. They're higher in omega-6s. Seed oils are higher in omega-3s.
Mm.
Don't you agree, Nadia?
Yep, I do.
Excellent.
Well, okay. France's question actually ties in with that. Is walnut oil okay?
Yeah, I think so. What do you think, Nadia?
Yep, again, just make sure it's a good quality, cold pressed, organic if you can get it. But yeah, definitely.
And keep it refrigerated. You don't want it to be too old, no longer than 4 months old, preferably.
Okay. Anne says, we don't have ghee here. If we know how, can we make our own clarified butter?
Oh, I'm sure you can certainly learn how to do it. I've never done it, but it's something that's been done by people for thousands of years. So I'm sure you can learn how to do that.
Sure.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay. Susan and Kelly have asked similar questions. Any ideas for creamy salad dressings? Oil and vinegar get a bit tiresome after a while.
You muted me.
That's Susan's question. And then Kelly's question is, blue cheese dressing is a weak point of mine. Any alternatives?
Not Dan, I missed the first question. I apologize. Can
Oh,
you repeat
okay.
it, please?
Okay, no, that's all right. Susan says, any ideas for creamy salad dressings? Because sometimes
Yeah.
oil and vinegar gets a bit tiresome
And
after a
what was
while.
and then the second question was?
Kelly asks, blue cheese dressing is a weak point of mine. Can you suggest any alternatives? She also says, by the way, thank you, thank you, thank you. My body and I feel fantastic.
Awesome.
Mm,
Okay.
nice.
Dan?
For salad dressings, making your own salad dressings is a really nice thing, nice habit to get into. So I'll give you a little cheat sheet for making salad dressings. So what you want to have in your salad dressings are an oil component, an acid component, a sweet component, a salt component, and a spicy component. If you mix those flavors together, and you can mix and match the quantities of those components based on if you want a creamy dressing or a more oily dressing. So for the oil component, you're using one of those good quality oils that we've mentioned, coconut oil, olive oil, macadamia nut oil. The acid component is apple cider vinegar or fresh lemon juice. Now the sweet component is where you can create a creamy dressing. For your sweet component, you can use a raw organic nut butter. So this will be something like a tahini, a sesame
Yeah,
butter, or
I
an
love that.
almond
That is,
butter.
yeah, I put
Right,
tahini in my dressings. I love it. And almond butter sometimes.
right. And that creates that excuse me, that creaminess of the dressing. And avocado is really really nice as well, to
Right.
just mushing up an avocado in your salad,
Great
and that
idea.
creates a nice creamy coating.
You mean
And
in
then
the
the salt
dressing?
component is just, yeah, you can put the avocado into the dressing itself and blend it up, but you
Yeah.
can, an avocado just on its own, a really ripe avocado is also a really nice dressing just on its own. So the
Mm.
avocado, just chop it up in small pieces, put it in your salad, and then toss your salad really well. And the avocado will break down and end up coating all the lettuce and everything else in the salad. And
Yeah,
then
I
the
would
salt. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, you keep going. I'm sorry.
I was just going to continue on with the salt component of the dressing. Is just a pinch of sea salt. Sea salt just brings all the flavors together. And then the
Nice.
spicy component is optional, but you can add in some cayenne pepper or black pepper if you want a bit of a spice in your dressing. So it's nice to get into the habit of playing with this and making different dressings. It makes your salad new every single time if you've got a different.
Great. And I would say also for the blue cheese, instead of using mayonnaise, you might want to use coconut milk, and then but still maybe use a blue cheese. Just make sure it's a high quality blue cheese because cheeses do have healthy bacteria because they are fermented. Maybe if it's a European blue cheese, it's going to be slightly higher quality in the milk. Yeah, it is milk, but you're not using that much. Um, that would probably work pretty well. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, or even one of those nut cheeses that you've mentioned.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's tough to get the blue cheese. I know what she's talking about, though. It's tough to get that blue unless they intentionally do it. If you look for a nut cheese that's specifically seasoned to taste like the blue cheese, and that might work well too.
Mm. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Angela says, regarding crackers, are there any that you can suggest from health food stores? I love making dips
Yes.
and having crackers with them.
Yes. All day long. I eat flax crackers and chia seed crackers, and vegetable crackers that are all dehydrated, and they are delicious. They're loaded with omega-3s. They're an uncorrupted omega-3s. There's no wheat, there's no grains. It's a live food. It's crunchy. If you season it right, it's delicious. You can make them yourself if you either get a dehydrator or put your oven on the lowest setting. You can mix and match recipes, and they are fabulous. I eat them all the time. What about you, Nadia? Do you like them?
We do as well. The flax crackers, the chia crackers, the vegetable crackers that we make using the pulp that's left over from our juicing, we turn that
Exactly.
into crackers. And you
Yeah.
can really make them your own with the different spices that you add. And same as you, John, we always have them going in our house and make them all the time, eat them all the time.
Love them, love them, love them. So do some research on the internet of different recipes, or go to your health food store. You can buy them online. They're expensive, I think, when you go to a health food store compared to how much they cost when you make them yourself. Because
It's true.
flax seeds are not that right. I mean, you might buy there might be maybe 6 or 7 crackers for it might cost you $8 or something like that. Those same 6 or 7 crackers would cost you maybe 50 cents at the most if you made them yourself.
Right. And another one is kale chips. We make that a
Yeah,
lot in our home, and it provides a substitute for potato chips. And they're really, really nice. And that's another thing. They're so expensive to buy them ready made at the health food store.
right,
But making them
right.
on your own, you can really cut that cost down.
So kale chips are dehydrated kale with some nuts and some seasoning, and it becomes really crunchy. I actually add kale chips to my salad. That's what I
Yeah,
do,
nice.
and
Very
oh,
nice.
it really comes out good. Try it. All you do is you take a handful of kale chips, crunch it up, put it on your salad, and it's got almost like that bacon bit. Remember when they used to they came out with bacon bits, which weren't really bacon, they were
Yep.
just processed bits of every type of chemical on earth. It's got
Right.
that, and I grew up on that, so
Yeah, another
it's
another nice
it's
thing
got the
you can
bacon
do
bit
for bacon,
experience.
for to have that bacon bit experience, are take eggplant and soak them in tamari, cut them up into tiny little pieces,
Oh,
or
love it.
coconut meat, cut them into tiny little pieces, soak it in tamari, and then dehydrate them.
Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. That would work
Mm.
for
Yeah,
sure.
really nice on your salad too.
Okay, cool.
Joanne asks, where do you get miso paste from?
Most health food stores
Um,
have it.
yeah, yeah.
And what about you?
I
Is
actually
there any
think
other?
you can get in supermarkets. I know here in Australia, in the Asian section, they usually have miso paste there too.
Cool. Okay. Then
Nancy wants to know, what about oats? Are oats okay? Do they have gluten in them?
I'm pretty sure they do have gluten. Whether they have gluten or not, they are a grain that will elevate your insulin levels. People love oats. People love to tout the health benefits of oats by saying it reduces cholesterol. Well, the only reason it reduces cholesterol is because it's got fiber. That's all. And all that when you eat a real food diet, everything you eat has fiber, so you don't have to worry about that. So to me, oats are just fiber and sugar. And the thing about oats, really, when you're no longer addicted to grains in general, is that I'm they have no taste at all. They're just substance. That's all they are. And that, like for me now, and again, there was a time when my whole diet was very largely based on grains, and yeah, I could see the benefits of oats, but it was an addictive benefit. There was this feeling of sugar rising in your body. There's lots of great ways to make porridge that don't include oats. Don't you agree, Nadia?
Yeah, and something that came to me while you were talking there is what we do now instead of having an oat-based porridge is we make chia porridge, and that's
Exactly.
simply by making soaking chia seeds in a liquid, and it creates a really really nice porridge, and you can add some high quality sweetener to that, and it's really really beautiful.
We just posted a recipe on our support group member site. If you're a member of the support group, definitely check it out. Otherwise, send us an email and we can get the recipe to you for a chia porridge. Exactly what you're saying. Only we used the bulk of it was chia bran. Now, chia bran is my new favorite grain of choice. Even though it's not a grain, it's my new favorite flour and grain substitute. Chia bran is not ground chia seeds. Chia bran is the remainder once you've made the chia oil. So when a manufacturer produces chia oil, what's left over? It's the fiber and the protein from the chia seeds. So it's 20% protein and fiber. That's all it is. There's zero sugar to elevate your insulin levels. There's zero gluten to cause inflammatory problems. And you can make pancakes out of it, muffins, breads, and porridges, and I do that all the time. It works really, really well. It's very tough to get in the States right now, but you can buy it online. It's more expensive than most grains, but still not expensive for what you're doing in terms of if you're making it yourself as opposed to going out and getting things like this. And to be able to have pancakes and muffins and breads and all these things without it causing an inflammatory response, an insulin response, it's a, is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So one of the things I would suggest, if you have a look online, or if you're in Australia, it's really easy to get. But if you have a look online, try to get some chia bran, and once you break the fast, go right into it by using that to make your pancakes and your porridges for a while to keep the fact that you're not addicted to the grains going as long as possible. And more you will be craving those types of foods. Have you ever
Sounds nice.
tried chia bran?
Mm.
Yeah,
No, I've only heard of it from you, John, so I'm very anxious to get some and try it. When you add it to water, does it bulk up the way chia seeds do?
it doesn't bulk up; it just gets mushy. It
Okay.
just becomes very mushy. Actually, it does soak up water pretty much. I notice like when I make my chia pancakes, that I'll have to keep adding more. Well, almond milk is what I use with. Have to keep adding more almond milk as I'm making them because they keep soaking up. So they do soak up for sure. But we've experimented with focaccia now and French toast, every different thing. Muffins are great, and they're so easy to make. You mix up the chia bran, you put in some, chop up some apples and bananas and cinnamon, and you bake them for 20 minutes, and you've got an amazing muffin. Maybe put a little coconut palm sugar and sea salt.
Very nice. That sounds great. I'm anxious
It's
to try
fabulous,
that.
and I'm telling you, it's
Yeah,
fabulous. And the thing is, it's just protein and fiber. I mean, it's just
right.
you feel good after eating it. It's just this is you mark my words. In 5 years from now, chia bran is going to be the fiber of the or the flour substitute. It's so much better than coconut flour. Coconut flour to me is good, but it's thick, and I kind of feel weighed down after eating it. Anyway, I can get
Right.
excited talking
Nice.
about this stuff, but
I
I
just wanted
actually
to
came, sorry,
yeah, go
I was
ahead,
just
sorry.
Nadia.
going to say a quick point. I just wanted to add for people that do have oats in their fridge and they're or
Yeah,
in their kitchen and they're not wanting to eat them now, what you can do is grind them up and use them as a face scrub. It's really, really nice to just massage oats into your face. It has a really nice mucilaginous effect that really nourishes your skin topically.
yeah. It's funny all the different things that you could use man-made foods for. I went to
Yeah.
a doctor who was a naturopath, a German lady, and she had NutraSweet or aspartame, equal all the different ways they call that artificial
Hmm.
sweetener on her desk. I said, "What are you doing with equal? You're a naturopath." She goes, "Oh, I don't need it. I use this ant killer. It's great. You put a little bit on your desk and the ants die."
Wow.
I said, "Oh,
We're
that
supposed to
makes
put
perfect
that in
sense."
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually heard, I don't know if this is entirely true, but I heard that that was how some of those things were created. They were trying to create a rat poison
yeah,
and they
yeah.
created this very, very sweet substance that
That's
then got
exactly what
marketed to
happened.
humans.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Anne actually has raised a question which you and I were talking about earlier, Nadia. Anne
Okay.
says, any suggestions how to get your family to eat healthily? I've tried, but the kids still want their pizza, etc. And my husband isn't on board either. I've been trying to get them to eat like I do for well over a year.
Okay, so I just want
Right.
to say one thing before I turn it over to you, Nadia, because this is also something I'm really excited about. But pizza, you mentioned pizza. You can use chia bran to make pizza dough, or you can use just an egg batter, just like if you make a little egg crepe and make it as the dough for the pizza, and then put all the other toppings in, and then you got something really healthy. Yeah, it's got a little bit of cheese in it. It's not the end of the world. You're baking it, but it gives you a real pizza taste without the real problems. But go ahead, Nadia.
Well, this is a tough one when you're discovering really great things for yourself and you want to share them with your loved ones. So first of all, first and foremost, be proud of what you're doing and lead by example. So your kids, if your kids and the rest of your husband and your family and friends see what you're doing and the benefits you're getting, that will help to teach them. And then, like what John said, be creative in what you're making, especially for the kids and for your husband. Make still their favorite things, just make them in a healthier way. And small steps go a long way. So even if you're making something like, for example, if your children like spaghetti and sauce, just make it the best way you can. So you can hide in a lot of really high quality vegetables into a spaghetti sauce. So there's little ways you can throw in some flax, just top flax just on the top right before you serve it to them. And just little ways to renegade those nutrients into them, sort of hidden and
Yeah,
they don't know.
I
yeah.
actually, sorry, I
Go
was
ahead.
just going to say, I actually sneak, whenever I do baking for my kids' lunches, I try and sneak a vegetable in the muffins and cakes that I make, like beetroot or zucchini, and they don't even know, particularly if I put cacao in it. You
Right,
can't even tell. No.
Right.
right. And
It's
cacao is another one. It tastes like chocolate. And if you get really good raw cacao, that can be healthy too.
right. So you can make, for example, if your kid likes milkshakes, you can make a milkshake out of coconut milk, cacao, and coconut palm sugar, and then you can put other ingredients in there too, or whatever, like berries or bananas, or nuts or seeds, whatever. Mix it all up, and you've got something that's not causing problems. You've got something that's healthy. So there's lots of ways to
Right,
do it. If you're looking at that, that's what we tried to achieve in our recipe book, where we just took all different types of recipes and just adapted them slightly. So for example, we've got a salmon lasagna in there. So we're using salmon, which is a little bit higher in healthy fats. It's got, instead of using pasta to divide the layers, we're using zucchini to divide the layers, but it's got really, really yummy sauce and cheese on it. And you've got 99% of the problems gone, and you got something super healthy. So keep experimenting and trying to find what we call super delicious, super nutritious type of recipes. That is, they taste just as good, but you're using healthy ingredients. My daughter doesn't know the difference between a chia bran pancake and a regular pancake at this point. She's really happy with a chia bran pancake. That's a huge win
Right.
for me because I got an 11-year-old who just craves junk food all the time. So you get little
That's
wins.
fabulous.
Yeah, it's a huge win. So you get these little wins over time, and you accumulate kind of an arsenal of foods that you can serve your family. The other thing we're working with a pediatrician to develop healthy eating habits with kids in the States, and she says that just because a kid doesn't like something, a vegetable, that you have to give the kid, she says she has some magic number like 30 opportunities to say no. What happens is we serve them broccoli and they go, I don't want that. I don't like, and then, okay, well, Billy doesn't like broccoli, and it becomes a definite statement. They've done study after study. If you just keep serving it, if you serve it by the 20th time they taste it, by the 30th time they're asking for it, you have to, don't give up just because your kid or your family says, I don't like this.
Good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, good. Okay, then.
Catherine asks well, actually, Catherine and Teresa ask questions about bread. Catherine says, is eating proper made sourdough okay or not? And then Teresa asks, do you not recommend dark rye bread?
Okay. So do you want to comment on that first, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Okay. So sourdough is controversial because in theory it should work. In theory, what you're doing with sourdough is you are fermenting you're fermenting the grain, and in the fermenting process, it's eating up most of the sugar. And if it's a gluten-free dough and it's fermented, in theory it should work. But I'm still when it's highly processed, it doesn't work at all in reality. It's you still feel the elevation in the insulin response. You still feel the tiredness. You can get very sensitive to what is healthy and what's not healthy. And I have tried sourdough, and I can tell you that to me there's no difference to it than regular bread in terms of the way my body responds to it. What do you think, Nadia?
So I agree with that. In theory, those things can be good, but when you buy them, when they're mass marketed and you buy them, they can call them sourdough or they can call them rye bread, but they're not always what they're claiming to be. So I know with rye bread, I have had some very good quality rye bread that's very, very dark, and it still tastes gluey to me. So it's still not
Yeah,
the best. But then there's been other ones that are also called rye bread, and they're just like white bread to me. So
yeah.
you really have to be careful with the marketing. Just because something is called something, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is what they're saying.
Yeah, and if you make it yourself, there might be a difference. But in terms of buying, I haven't had any experience where I've seen a sourdough or a dark rye that didn't still have the bread experience, that bread feel to it. Okay,
Mm.
then.
Okay. Robert says, I've lost 60 pounds in the last 2.5 months. I worry
Great.
that these past 2 weeks might be really slowing down my metabolism. I love the
Mhm.
program, but can you tell me how long it might take to get my body used to eating dairy and wheat again without a huge weight gain? I plan on incorporating many elements of the cleanse in my diet, but can't realistically stick to no wheat, no dairy. Thanks.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that, yeah, your metabolism slows down for the week that you're detoxing, but we're going to give you specific suggestions to speed it up. The one, if for you, Robert, I would say specifically, is starting day two. I would do exercises that are similar to what's in the GM Fitness. So that's high intensity exercise. You want to actually rebuild your muscles, and you want to do sprinting type work. The combination of rebuilding your muscles through any kind of lifting or weights and sprinting, that combination will restart your metabolism. I don't want you to do it. I don't want you to go to gym 2 hours a day for every day. What I would love for you to do is starting day two or day three, depending on how you feel, to do just 10 minutes of exercise where, because you'll find that if you did some sort of curls, for example, you can only do a couple of reps and your muscles are already going to be feeling it. So just 10 minutes of a combination of muscle building exercise or strengthening exercise and intensity where you're sprinting. So a couple of sprints on a stationary bike for just 30 seconds, and then a little bit of some kind of push-up, sit-up thing where you're feeling your muscles. You want to rebuild your muscle and do sprint. That combination, very, very short term, every couple of days will rebuild your metabolism. As far as the wheat dairy thing, I would say see how your body feels after you do the cleanse, because your body's going to be you're going to be in very good touch with your body about what it wants and what it needs. It's going to be craving healthy things. You might be surprised to find that it's not going to be an issue for you to avoid those things, because you're not going to be craving them anymore. If you are, then just make sure you're eating lots of healthy foods with it, and within about 2 week period, you'll go back to your metabolism will have switched back. You will have different cravings for sure, and just keep adding to those cravings, keep nurturing those healthy cravings for healthier foods. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, that all sounds great. I like what you said about, whatever you are eating, make sure that you're having lots of healthy foods with it.
Yeah. Okay. And Robert, I just want to say that when you say I can't realistically avoid wheat and dairy, you could realistically avoid wheat and dairy if you weren't craving it, because it wouldn't be an effort. And I can tell you that for certain. I mean, we all have different busy lives, and the only reason I can realistically avoid those things is because I absolutely don't crave them. And there's nothing special about me. I'm not Magic Man or Superman. It's just I've gone through this process, a process that we all can go through. And I can tell you that I was just as addicted as anyone you ever met to both of those. So it's a balance. And all I'm saying is focus on the fact that you will have different cravings right now, and keep nurturing that. Keep nurturing the fact that you're going to want salads and real foods, and go in that direction. And you might find that that takes on a life of its own. Don't you think, Nadia?
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Dan?
Nala asks, what do you both think of Bragg's amino? I was spraying my foods with this.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Do you know Bragg's amino, Nadia?
Yeah, I am aware of it. I have used it in my past. I don't use it so much anymore, but in small quantities, it's okay.
It's just fermented soy, really, is what it is. And soy in general is not great, but once you ferment it, it's fine. Yeah, it's like tamari, basically. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Diane asks, there's three questions. First of all, is coconut flour the only healthy substitute for flours when baking? Can rice flour be used?
Yeah. Well, we did a long dissertation on
Yeah.
that. It's just,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
chia bran is a, but you know what? There's also the same way they have chia bran, they also have flax meal, but make 100% double sure that you're not just getting ground flax seeds or ground chia seeds. That's not the same thing. That's got the oil in it. You don't want to cook that oil. But flax meal and hemp meal and chia bran are all great flour substitutes, as long as that's what they are. It's the remains after they've extracted the oil. Those are really great flour substitutes. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, Angela says banana flour is awesome to bake with. Would you say that's okay?
What do you think, Nadia?
Banana flour, I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not either. I'm imagining a sort of dehydrated powdered banana, and that to me could be really high in sugar. But as far as baking it, I don't know. It depends on.
Hmm.
I've never tried it.
Right.
Sounds interesting.
Something that we've also used is when I make my own almond milk, I dehydrate the pulp from the almond
Yeah,
and I turn that into a flour, and I use that oftentimes to make cookies and crackers.
yeah. Okay. Anyway, actually, Dan, let's
Yeah,
we're gonna have to get back and finish the webinar,
Okay. Thank you.
and then we'll come back in just a little while and try to answer some more questions. Thanks. Okay. We're getting some comments. We've been talking a little bit too much about food on day 4, so but really what we do want to talk about healthy alternatives for your kitchen. So let's keep going. So let's talk about sauces and salads and dressings. We did talk a lot about that already, but maybe we can touch on that now, Nadia.
sure. So a lot of the sauces and salad dressings, this is a big thing that's available in the grocery stores, these packaged processed sauces and salad dressings, but they have all the same problems that we were saying. They're full of additives and preservatives. They're full of addictive chemicals. So you really want to try and move away from those and move more into making them yourself. Once you
Yeah.
start learning how to make some simple ones, you might, what I've found is that they're really simple and they're easy to make. They don't cost very much, and you can really get creative and make a whole ton of things.
Yeah, the other thing about the sauces is they almost always have sugar, and they're almost always use the wrong oil, the bad oils, because they're cheap and available. So
Right.
you can make them yourself for even less if you're buying them yourself, and if you're making them yourself, and you've got all the good benefits. So to me, the biggest bang for the buck is healthy fat as opposed to unhealthy fat. You can't taste the difference, but one has an enormous chemical benefit on your body, and the other is extremely detrimental.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about spices for a second.
Right. So spices are a really, really wonderful part of the diet. They add so much taste and flavor and nutrition as well to your food if you're getting good quality ones. So for the first one we'll talk about is sea salt. So
Yeah,
sea salt is what you're trying to avoid is the iodized refined white salt. So you're trying to move away from that. That has no nutritional value and it really is harmful within the body. And you're trying to move more towards the Himalayan salts, the Celtic sea salts, the volcanic salts. Those are the
right.
ones that aren't, they typically don't look white, they look pink or gray, and they still have all of the trace minerals in them that is very, very helpful for your body.
Right. Another example of a great bang for the buck. You can't taste the difference between healthy salt and unhealthy salt. Healthy salt is so essential to your body because there's so many there's so many minerals that we're not getting in our food anymore because our food's been stripped away of minerals. And so we
Right,
need trace minerals. And so our body's not functioning properly, right? Because we don't have the minerals and we're hungry all the time because we're craving those minerals. Put the right
right.
salt in your body functions better. It feels satisfied. Put the wrong salt in your body and you have a lot of problems. You can't taste the difference. And salt's not, I
And
mean, people say I can't afford Himalayan salt. Himalayan salt, $9 of Himalayan salt will last you for a year.
right.
It,
And these
it
and
makes no sense.
the really good quality salts, they are becoming more and more available. So
Yeah.
it's that supply and demand thing that they're becoming more available. So the price is going down with them. They're not as expensive as
Yeah.
they used to be. And then
No, and
another
that's
thing
not
that
the
we
place to
do.
scrimp.
Right, right, exactly. And another thing that we do in our home is we eat sea vegetables. So sea vegetables
Oh,
also are coming from the ocean. They contain a lot of those trace minerals. And what I love doing is I dry out this the seaweed and then I powder it and I use that as a salt too because it's got a very, very salty taste.
right, right. And this is something I didn't know about that spices only have a 2-year shelf life. I didn't realize that. I think I might have even given one person the advice to that it was okay that she had some older spices, older turmeric. Well, let me tell us about that.
Well, this has a lot to do with storage of food. So
Yeah,
the spices that you're buying on the spice rack, they're dried. They're foods that are dried. So when they're dried and they're stored, if they're not stored entirely exactly properly, things can get in there. Air could get in there. Mold can start to grow, and you might not smell that they've gone bad, but those things can be in there, especially if they're spices that
sure.
you're opening and closing often. You're as you're pouring them in your food, little bits of other food and things can get in there to contaminate the bottle and the spice. And I think that's
Okay.
why it's really good to stick with 2 years or less of a shelf life so that you're constantly rotating and you have a fresh supply in
Mhm.
your cupboard.
Okay. And so so buying smaller quantities is the go on spices. Is that right?
Yeah, buy them in small quantities. If you buy it and it's a bit of a quantity, then just take a small amount out of the bigger package, put it in a glass bottle, and then
Mhm.
keep refilling that glass bottle, and that'll keep it fresher as well.
Okay. And this we talked a lot about already, but maybe we can just touch on it again about keeping your kitchens clean with healthy cleaners.
Yeah. So, like John said, we've talked about this a lot already. A lot of the cleaners you buy at the store are full of toxic ingredients. So,
Yeah.
moving to more healthier things is better. So, what we use in our home to clean the kitchen is vinegar for the countertops. We
Right.
use vinegar to clean our vegetables, to clean the pesticides off the vegetables. Just a bit of apple cider vinegar does that. But white vinegar in a spray bottle with some essential oils, you can use that to clean your countertops and your sinks and your faucets, your stovetop. Organic dish soap, we've talked about that as well, how to make that on your own with Castile soap, or just buying a really good one at the
Hmm.
store, a really green one that's healthy and doesn't have those toxic ingredients.
Right. Okay, great. And we're talking about making our kitchen come alive. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Oh, I love this. This is something that is it really, really adds energy to your home. So when you walk in your kitchen and your kitchen is not only clean, but it smells great and it looks great, it really invites you into there to start making healthy foods. So
Mm.
some ideas to do this are buy herbs fresh. Herbs smell wonderful. So if you buy them fresh, buy your basil, your oregano, your thyme, your cilantro, buy them and then put them in a glass of water just on the counter. So it's like instead of a vase of flowers, you've got a vase of herbs. And it adds a wonderful scent to the kitchen, the air in the kitchen.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
then another really great idea is growing sprouts. So, a lot of the when we talk about food, a lot of times I'll talk about growing your own food. So that's a learning process. A lot of us don't know how to do that very. Sprouts are a way that you can start. They're very, very simple to do. They're easy. Sometimes it takes some practice to get the technique down, but what you end up with is a hugely highly nutrient dense food that you can add to your salads. You can add to pretty much anything you eat.
Yeah. Yeah. They are very easy to make, and they are, as you say, one of the best live nutrient-dense foods that are out there. I couldn't agree more. And I've learned to, I just really, really love them in my salad. They add a crunch to
Yeah, I do as
they
well.
add a crunch and a spring to the salad that's really nice.
Right. And it's
Okay.
really fun too when you get your sprouting jars going and you have them in your kitchen. Every time you walk in your kitchen, it's fun to look at them and see how they're growing and attend to them. Gardening is a really good way to get back in touch with your food.
Mm.
And
No,
then, of
I
course,
agree. Yeah.
yeah. And then, of course, fill your fruit bowls and your refrigerator with fresh produce. There's so many colors, vibrant colors that make your kitchen come alive. There's nothing more beautiful than a bowl on the counter or on the tabletop full of brightly colored food.
Yeah.
Opening your
Uh,
fridge and seeing that, it's really, really nice. It
it's
inspires you to keep
beautiful.
going.
It's beautiful. The whole image you're creating is quite compelling for sure.
And
Okay.
it's about that. It's about supporting yourself. We talk too about how to get your family to eat healthy. So if you have a lot of healthy options in your kitchen, when your child or your husband goes in the kitchen and he opens up the fridge, if there's healthy options right there, they're more likely to choose a healthy option.
That's the best. That's 100% right. That's been my experience too. If it's all there and they can just pick it up, it's an apple, it's a pear, whatever it is, and keep going, it's exactly right.
Right. And
Okay.
then the things that a lot of people they struggle to replace are those snack foods. So
Yeah.
the crackers, the cookies, the chips, the roasted salted nuts, all of those things that are in people's snack cupboard. You want to replace those things with healthier snacks. Snacks that taste really, really great, just as good as those other things, even better once you lose the taste for those things. And they can last long in your cupboard and they're there. They're easy to reach for, they're easy to grab for, and when you open up your cupboard, you've got all those healthy options.
So basically, so you can look at your snacks and say that would this snack exist on an island as it is? And if the answer is yes, then it's a great snack food. Or if you're making it yourself by dehydrating flax crackers or kale chips or chia seeds, chia crackers, then you know that it's a really, really good flat item. So excellent. All right. Well, Nadia, we've got many more questions than I think we have time to answer, but let's bring Den back on for now and see how many questions we can answer over the next 20 minutes or so. So Den, are
Okay.
you there?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here. France asks, is avocado oil okay to use?
Yes. As long as it's cold pressed, it's beautiful. Yeah. And you keep it refrigerated. Do you agree, Nadia?
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Marisol wants to know, if you want to saute vegetables, what oil do you recommend since it is on high heat?
Yeah.
Um, would you go as far as saying never use olive oil to cook with, and just use it as a cold dressing only?
I would, but what do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, well, because you know what John said, it's a great bang for your buck. The taste of the food isn't going to change, but you're getting such great qualities. So why not use something like coconut oil or butter or ghee instead of the olive oil, where you can get that the nutrition, but then the taste of your final dish doesn't change.
Right. It's not like having a dessert versus having spinach or something like that. Yeah,
Right.
you know, it's basically the same food and the same taste, but one's much healthier for you. So yeah, I don't I wouldn't I personally wouldn't cook with olive oil.
Mm, okay.
Okay.
Joanne asks, would you, when you buy coconut milk, do you buy regular or low fat?
No, I wouldn't buy low fat. What about you, Nadia?
I try to avoid anything that says low fat, low sodium, fat free, any of those things. I just think that there's chemicals that they've used to change it
Right.
somehow. And I like to have food in as close as possible to its whole natural state.
And low fat usually means high sugar, and the fat in coconut milk is healthy for you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Joanne has actually asked if we would be able to provide instructions on how to make the crackers. So I'm wondering if we could just maybe add that to the. Um,
There's a flax cracker recipe I think in the in 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 the recipe book. There are lots of recipes online. I don't even bother. Anytime I want kale chips, flax crackers, chia crackers, if you type those in online, you're going to get 500 different variations of those recipes. And really what you do is you make it your own. Like this idea that if you're juicing and you take the pulp and you mix that in with chia crackers and some salt and maybe some chopped up onions or something like that, and a couple other seasonings, you're going to have fabulous crackers.
mm, okay.
Do you have specific
Um,
recipes that you would want that you like to work with, Nadia?
Well, I always say a recipe is just a suggestion. So you definitely
Right.
want to make it your own. But I do have recipes on my website for the kale chips that we love and the vegetable flax crackers that we make and the chia crackers.
Okay.
But so you can go on and you can look at those and then get inspiration and use those to
Where would
then
we
go
go
ahead
for
and
your
make them your own.
where would we go for
So
your website?
my website is making healthy choices.com. So it's
Okay.
makinghealthychoices.com with a hyphen between the words.
Okay. Great.
can
Okay.
people go there to find instructions on how to make the healthy cleaning products as well? Is that possible?
Yes, a lot of the products that we talked about in the webinars are there. And in the comment section, I have responded to one person's question with some links, some direct links that they can click and go to.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. A lot of people have been asking for instructions on those, so thank you.
Great.
Bianca wants to know if she's not able to get grass-fed organic butter, is it all right to use just organic when cooking? Um,
It's better than most other choices. So I would well organic. Let me just say one thing. Organic usually would mean grass fed. There's no way around
mm,
that.
mm.
So, don't you agree, Nadia? I mean, they're one and the same. You can't. What are they feeding the cow if it's not? Or yeah, I mean, what are they feeding the cow? They have to be feeding it something organic. So
Yeah, yeah.
organic usually does mean grass fed.
Okay, thank you. Marisol's asked if you've heard of the brand Mary's Gone crackers. They seem to be made, the crackers are actually seem to be made from flax seeds and are gluten free. Is this the type of cracker that you were talking about being okay?
I have heard of them. I don't remember what they are, but if they're flat made out of flax seeds and vegetables and they're not made out of grains and they're dehydrated, absolutely. Well,
Okay.
do you know that brand,
I'm not
Nadia?
familiar with it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Helen wants to know what kind of dehydrator do you recommend?
Nadia?
So the one that we use is called the Excalibur dehydrator, and it's a little pricey, but I found it well worth every penny. We use it all the time and make so many things with it. And you can get
Right.
them. You can buy the 4 tray, 5 tray, or 9 tray one. I would suggest buying the bigger one because once you start using it, you'll fill up those trays very quickly.
So
Mm,
pricey meaning like in the 400 or 500 range, right?
Yeah, we bought a used one, and we got it for $200
Yeah.
US
You can
dollars.
look online. Yeah. Definitely look online for used ones. Okay.
okay, thank you. Angela just wants to know regarding using chia bran to act like flour. Do you use similar quantities as you would to normal flour, or
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
react differently? Okay,
No, it's similar
all right.
quantities.
Okay, thank you. Um, Marisol says, yeah, sorry.
I was going to say it does react differently though. It does soak up more moisture, so you probably I would start with by using less and see what the consistency is. I kind of just feel my
Okay.
way through it, so I don't compare it to traditional recipes, but I'm finding that it's fairly similar. But start with a little bit less, give it some time, and see how much moisture it absorbs. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Marisol says, I'm a big fan of cheese, have always preferred it to dessert. Are you recommending staying away from all cheeses due to the inflammatory nature of dairy, or are there certain cheeses you would stay with, uh, uh, perhaps feta or blue cheese or cottage cheese?
Well, I think what the bigger issue is whether it's organic and how natural the cheese is. Cheese in and of itself, if the cheese is, if the cheese is coming from raw milk and 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 it's made naturally, you got a really healthy item there because it's loaded with friendly bacteria because it's fermented and doesn't cause any of the problems. Otherwise, I would try to get organic as much as possible. What do you think, Nadia?
Yeah, again, cheese is a traditional food. It's something humans have been making for a long time. But you just want to, like John said, be careful when you're choosing ones to buy. Buy ones that are as natural as possible, made from raw
Yeah.
milk. And then, like John has also mentioned, you can also experiment with these nut cheeses as well.
I'm not sure, but it's possible that some of the cheeses that come from Europe are raw milk. They used to be. I don't know if they still are, but it's worth looking into. If you can get a raw milk cheese, you got something that's really healthy. And so
Yeah,
it doesn't matter so
in
much which
America,
cheese it is. Yeah,
right.
go
In
ahead.
America, you can buy raw milk cheese. You have to look for it, but you
Oh,
can find it.
yeah.
Mm,
So raw milk cheese would definitely be the go. It doesn't matter which the cheese is. They're all going to be really much healthier. Okay.
okay. Um, Tandy says, I have found Chia Brand online, but I'm in the US. This one, there is only one producer and it's not organic. John, would you still recommend it? It seems very good, since,
Yeah.
especially since they're celiac and gluten free.
Yeah, no, it is good. And most of the chia producers, the reason why they're not organic is they haven't had time to become organic, but they're usually spray free. But they can't really advertise that because either you can advertise either you're certified organic or you're not organic, and it usually takes time. So for the most part, people that grow chia seeds are aware enough that they're not spraying with crazy pesticides for the most part. But so what I usually do for example, when I go to the health food store, I find that my chia seeds in the bulk will say unsprayed, and usually the chia brand is kind of in that same category. So absolutely, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Kelly wants to know, what are your thoughts on peanut butter? Is it good, bad? And also, what should you look for?
Okay, Nadia.
Peanuts are a food that are widely used. So when a food is used a lot, that's when people can develop intolerances to it. So that's where a lot of peanut allergies and things like that are coming from these days. There are almond butters, cashew butters. There are butters that are made from other nuts and seeds that are really nice as well that you can try.
Yeah,
And
it's
if you
another
are buying peanut
example.
butter, then organic, of course, and
Yeah,
raw if you
yeah,
can.
it's another example of a good bang for the buck. Almond butter tastes fabulous when it's done right, and
Right.
you can make it at home if you have a champion juicer or the right type of juicer, or even a slow press masticating juicer will do it. Tahini, I use tahini instead of peanut butter all the time. I'll usually have tahini and mix it with chia seeds and some sort of berries or bananas and makes a really nice tasting snack.
Mm,
Yeah. Okay.
okay. Joanne says, if you are going to have bread, is would gluten-free bread be a better alternative?
Yes. And Nadia, do you agree?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid is that gluten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Diane says, what do you think of dried tofu curd, the noodle-like rehydrated byproduct of making tofu?
Yeah. So it depends if it's when you say curd. Do you know what she's talking about, Nadia?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming she's talking about the bricks of tofu that you can buy.
Yeah. So I don't know because tofu in itself I would not recommend because soybeans can cause a lot of problems, a lot of hormonal problems that cause you to gain weight and a lot of digestion problems unless they're fermented. So you said tofu curd. So I don't know if that's a fermented product. If it's a fermented product such as tempeh, then it's nice. It's good. I would recommend it. So the types of fermented soy are miso soup, tamari, which is a type of wheat-free soy sauce, and tempeh. If this particular curd is
And natto.
fermented, and natto. If this tofu is fermented in some way, it takes care of the problems that soybeans cause.
Okay.
Okay, Ken?
I might ask this question. It's actually not related to food, but it's
That's okay. I think
pretty
people are
important. Yeah.
tired of talking about food right
Babette
now.
says, yeah, Babette says, what about if your doctor is really pushing hard to put you on cholesterol and blood pressure medication? Can this be put off while you do the detox to try and lose weight before it's too late? I'm finding the pressure to take medication really stressful.
So my philosophy with doctors is you get to choose your doctor, but once you choose your doctor, you got to follow his advice, or some other professional. So there's a lot of professionals out there that have different opinions. You got to decide what's right for you. I know that I recently had foot surgery, and the doctor was really pushing me to take antibiotics, and I know my body well enough to know whether or not I need them, and I know all the downsides to them. And for me, that I just knew it wasn't appropriate. I knew that if I needed them, I would take them in a second, but at that time I didn't need them. So you do kind of have to. I don't ever want you to go against your doctor's advice, but you need to find a doctor that you can work with, or get a second professional opinion. If there's other healthy, natural healers out there that are professionals, you can ask their opinion. But if your doctor's really pushing and you're not asking a second opinion, then then I would encourage you to listen to your doctor. What do you say, Nadia?
Yeah, I agree with you. Choose a doctor that's in line with your values and then work together with him. But you have the right to choose the doctor or health professional that you'd like to work with.
Yeah. Now, in my specific situation where I was, it was a surgeon that's not my normal doctor who was pushing me, but I had no choice because he was my surgeon, or no choice but to choose this guy because he was really kind of the best as far as what he was doing. But in terms of me taking the medications, that's something I happen to know really well. But if you don't, what I would have done in that situation is I would have gotten a second opinion from a professional that has values that are similar to mine, and get his take on it. And so that's what I would encourage. Okay.
Okay. Nancy says soy products are not good. As a vegetarian, I sometimes use soy products as a meat substitute.
Yeah. So try tempeh, and tell us what natto is, Nadia.
So natto is another fermented soy product, and it's very popular in Japan. It's how do I describe it? It's something. It's an acquired taste. So a lot of people don't like it at first. I myself liked it from the very first time I tried it. It does have a unique taste. It's the bean that is fermented. So when you open the package, you'll still see the shape of the bean. It's a very dark brown color, and it has a kind of sour, bitter taste to it. And it's really nice. It feels wonderful in my body when I have it.
And what do you do? Just eat it as a bean, or can you blend it up and mix it into a dip or something? What do you do with it?
Yeah, I typically just eat it in Japan. I used to live in Japan, and they would just sell them in little packages. And so I would just open the package and eat it right out of the package. And I would add a nice healthy mustard sauce to it, which I used to like the taste together. But I have never done it, but I would imagine that you could try and mix it into a dip. The thing with natto is that it's very mucilaginous, so it's very sort of stringy. And because of that property, I'm not sure how it would mix into a dip.
Okay. All right. But the important thing is, if you're having soy, you want it to be fermented soy. That, that,
Right.
that's fine. You don't want to have soy milk and tofu all day. That's a nightmare waiting to happen. That's going to elevate your estrogen levels, cause insulin resistance, cause serious digestion problems, so that you can't absorb the nutrients from the rest of the food. You're going to be perpetually hungry. I gained over 100 pounds. Well, being a vegetarian, eating very similar to that. So it just doesn't, for some people, and obviously that's not the only reason I gained weight, but that was my diet, and it wasn't working for me at all.
Mm. Okay.
Okay, then.
Teresa's asked, she just would like to reiterate why you shouldn't add hot water to your Green Me Up Johnny.
Because it's got live friendly bacteria in it, and those friendly bacteria will die. You want them to be live so that they go into your intestines, they populate in there, and those friendly bacteria then help you digest and assimilate nutrients, reduce inflammation, strengthen your immune system, and get your body functioning properly. The key to health and weight loss, more and more we're learning, is friendly bacteria in your digestion. You've cleaned out a lot of the unfriendly bacteria through this cleanse. Green Me Up Johnny's got friendly bacteria. By the way, do keep it refrigerated, and then drink it cold. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Suzanne says, and this is a question about the actual reactions to the cleanse. I'm drinking lots, but not running to the bathroom as much as I was in the first few days. Is this normal?
Yeah. I don't see that as a huge problem. Do you, Nadia?
No, not at all. As long as you're not feeling like you're holding the urination in at all. Just let it go if it
Oh
needs to
yeah.
come out. Your body will
Yeah.
regulate that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Um, uh, Angela's asked, I'm really loving the visualizations. The ones we have, are they okay to use after, or are they really specific for the cleanse?
Absolutely. They're yours
Yeah.
forever to use whenever you want. Absolutely.
Do you recommend specific visualizations for the post cleanse?
All of those visualizations are really suitable for the post cleanse. I think the last visualization, visualization 7, I don't remember the name of it, is specifically to go into post cleanse mode, so that going forward you're craving healthier foods, you're having more energy, and getting the most out of the cleanse. So that would be a really ideal one.
Okay,
And
thank you.
then we've got a library of if you're familiar with our support group, we've got a library of maybe of 30 plus visualizations there. And then we've also got an MP3 player that's got fully loaded with 13 visualizations. We're doing we're doing live visualizations every month, so there's lots and lots of visualizations to choose from. Okay.
Thank you. Michelle says, or first of all, I would like to thank you very much for your support. She says, I'm very constipated and bloated. What is the best thing to do? I'm also not sleeping very well. I wake up several times during the night, and this is unusual for me. I'm getting so tired.
I just want to say that I don't usually sleep as much when I'm cleansing, and I think your body doesn't need as much sleep when you're cleansing. I don't know if that's true, uh, but Nadia, I'll pass it over to you. What do you think?
So if Michelle is feeling constipated, I would suggest paying attention to when the last time was that you had a bowel movement. If it's been a while and you've been doing massage on your abdomen, that's not working. You're still hydrating, that's not working. You can try an enema at home. You can also try some psyllium husk powder, which is just a fiber supplement. So you'll just mix a teaspoon of psyllium husk powder into a glass of water, mix it up really well, drink that down, follow it with another glass of water, and hopefully
And
that'll get things moving for you.
what about a colonic if she wants to get that? Are there good ones and bad ones to get? Are they good to have?
Yeah, a colonic is along the same lines as an enema, so you can certainly go and get a colonic. Go to that's where you go to a place, and you'll have a therapist that will assist you to do the colonic, and that's fine to do as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And what about the
Um,
sleeping? Let me just
yeah,
ask you,
so
what about the fact
Yeah,
that she's not sleeping? Yeah.
yeah. So sleeping, what's really important during cleansing is rest. So if you find that you're not falling into a deep sleep, make sure that you are resting, that you are letting your body lie still. You're doing those visualizations, so your mind is getting a chance to calm down as well, and your body still is getting rest.
Excellent.
okay.
Okay. Dan,
Yeah.
you got time for one more
Helen.
question?
Okay, Helen is going to a spiritual retreat in December and would like to do another detox cleanse then. We've advised her that you suggest only doing one or two per year. She wants to know why you recommend no more than that.
Okay. Do you want to
So,
answer that, Nadia?
sure. So the reason for that space is because you need to give your system time to integrate what you've done. So when you do a cleanse, you're putting your body into a place where it can work really hard on a deep level to get rid of things that have been built up. That's a lot of work and it takes a lot of energy. Once you finish that and you start moving forward, your body needs time to find its balance again. It needs time to learn how to digest foods properly, efficiently, more efficiently, hopefully, as you're moving forward, and to release toxins again more efficiently as it was before. You need that space to allow your body to integrate everything that's done and to work with becoming more and more efficient. If you do cleanses back to back very frequently, you can fall into a rhythm, creating a sort of yo-yo pattern in your
Yeah.
life. And that's not really that healthy. That doesn't keep you balanced.
Yeah, I agree. A cleanse is a huge, huge thing that you do. I mean, you're going without eating basically for 5 days, just liquids. It's a huge opportunity for your body, but it's also a lot of work for your body. You don't want to overstress your body like that. It will get confused, and it could cause a lot of problems. That could really backfire. So I strongly, strongly urge you not to fall into that pattern. But in the meantime, very much congratulate yourself for the incredible work that you're doing right now. We're on day 4, and we've run out of time, so that's all the questions that we can take right now. But we will be answering your questions all throughout the day on the member site. So any questions that you have, ask us there, and we'll keep going. So everybody, you're doing a fabulous, fabulous job. I think that it takes a lot of courage and determination and strength and really self-love to do what you're doing. So I applaud all of you. And Nadia, once again, thanks so much for the work that you're doing. Den and Aaron and Shannon, thanks for supporting us on the webinars. And we'll talk to you all very, very soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care, everyone.